This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time.
He's
Off
got
the left
him.
side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Matilda for the musical. Would you be happy for me? Yeah. What if I was Matilda for the
Guys,
Green Bay, Wisconsin! Is that all you got? Come on, you can be louder than that! I know y'all mad because championship gold looks good on the blue and orange. But in all seriousness, Green Bay, we are in the shadow of Lambeau Field. And I love Lambeau Field because the king of the North, the best quarterback in the NFC North, Caleb Williams, is undefeated at Lambeau Field. And in case y'all aren't familiar with my game, let me remind you, I am a visionary. I am a revolutionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins. And I am here to tell you that with the 56th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the greatest franchise in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, select Ozzie Tropillo, tackle from Boston College. Let's burn it down and bear down, Chicago.
Good morning. That had to be the funniest moment of the draft for me.
It was pretty gay.
You would say that, of course. Come on, it was Seth frickin' Rollins.
No, it was pretty gay.
Okay, Sarah. Kind of like, never mind. I won't even go there. That was funny, and you know it. Good morning, Joe. He's driving. Look at even Joseph's laughing. He's like, yeah, Seth frickin' Rollins. That was some good stuff.
yeah, I was surprised they had John Cena on there too. I don't really watch wrestling now. I stopped when I was a kid, when I was like 18. But like, you know, I see enough commercials and stuff to know who Seth Rollins is. It was an excellent troll job.
He does an excellent troll job. So I like when they have fun at the draft. Especially the first round they just like, my God, they drag it out. Yeah, Sarah was just jealous her team doesn't have a WWE superstar to come up there and present it for them.
Why would I?
And it was
jealous of
better
that?
than watching. It was better than watching Mel Kiper defend Shedeur Sanders all day.
Oh my
I
God.
just don't understand why he's not picked yet. He's better than the last 4 quarterbacks that have been taken, and this is just a travesty. And it's like, or maybe he's just not as good as you thought he was, Mel. Like,
I saw a conspiracy. Some dude was on YouTube and he's like, Tom Brady was behind the whole collusion of not getting Shedeur drafted. I was like, what the fuck are you smoking?
Yeah, so
I mean, what would be the reason?
Exactly. Like,
I was at a
maybe
wedding.
if he hadn't gone into his interviews acting all entitled, he would have gotten drafted.
Yeah, I was at a wedding for the draft, and we were kind of like, first off, I went to my brother, like, dude, who does a wedding on the draft? And he goes, well, I do. Like, well, obviously we're here. So we're all tracking the draft on our phones. After the wedding, we're all going to the receptions. Everyone's on their phone looking at the draft picks. Like, everyone's like, okay, when's this kid gonna get drafted? When's he gonna get drafted? And it's just like, geez, I mean, we went to brunch on Saturday and he still hasn't been drafted. It was like, what the hell is going on? I mean, but yeah, you go into skipping the combine, don't do a pro day, you tank your interviews, you spend more money on your draft party than what your contract's going to be worth. There might be some issues there.
Oh, that's not even the word. So you're talking about tanking interviews. Like, I read exactly how he tanked those interviews. So when he would go into interviews and they would, they inevitably bring up your film, right? They show you what you did well. They show you your bad plays. When they would show him the bad plays, he said this more than once in more than one interview. He said, if you don't like my game, don't draft me. Rather than accepting the coaching and the criticism, like, well, you made the wrong decision here. He said, if you don't like my game, don't draft me.
So, and then I've got the pundits like Stephen A. Smith. Oh, this is racism. He's the next Colin Kaepernick. No, he's a dumbass. It's like, you give an answer like that, they're not going to draft you.
Stephen A. said it was racism?
Yeah, I saw the quote. He said it was racism, and that he's in that Shedeur is in that Colin Kaepernick. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, he was like, this is all 32 teams were colluding. I'm like, all 32 teams didn't fucking need a quarterback. Do you think the Chiefs have Mahomes that they're going to go draft Shedeur? No. All 32 teams didn't need a quarterback. So, like, the fact that all 32 teams would be colluding is just fucking stupid.
I think that part actually is true. I definitely think that all 32 teams colluded to push him down to the 5th round. Like, I don't think, and I don't think that that's illegal, or like, because all it takes is one scouting department to call another scouting department and say, hey, you won't believe what this guy said in our interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he didn't interview with all 32 teams, though. I mean,
exactly.
there's only a few number of teams that needed quarterbacks.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
you're just proving my point, Sarah. Like, if he didn't interview with all 32 teams, then obviously all those other teams heard about those interviews somehow.
Right, but Joe, here's the point though. Like, good morning, Jim. Like, Detroit wasn't going to draft him. Chicago wasn't going to draft him. Green Bay was never going to draft him. Minnesota was never going to draft him. There were certain teams that were never going to draft him because they weren't going to draft the quarterback at all anyway.
That's true.
So you got all that, and then he did get drafted. And it's funny because now he's making less money as a pro than he did in college. His NIL deal was worth more than his NFL contract is going to be. He was making over $6 million in college. Now his contract's going to be worth. But it's just like, you can't act stupid and then expect to be a first round pick. I mean, now look at the Browns take. You want to talk about an interesting quarterback room now in Cleveland? Oh my goodness! But I mean, look at the Browns steal. If he's going to be any good. Now he can go out and still prove it. But the whole Shedeur Sanders thing was such a joke this weekend. Like, you can't do this stuff.
No offense, but you look at the kid, and he's more focused on other things than just football.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Primetime got fired by his son, and then his son got drafted. Oh, and then the prank call. Now the kid's, is apologizing. The Falcons are apologizing because it was the son of their defensive coordinator who made the prank call. But I'll tell you what, that prank call that the Shedeur about, hey, this is the Saints. We're going to take you next. Oh wait, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. I'm sorry, but that was so deserving. Like, they picked the right guy to prank.
They didn't just do it to him.
No, yeah, they got Tyler Warren too.
Yeah, there was a couple of players.
Yeah. But hey, look, he's on a roster now. So that's good. We can look at the rosters now.
Well, but if you look at it, that's why teams didn't want to draft him, because he went to the Browns and nobody cared about all the other draft picks that the Browns drafted. It was all Shedeur.
I don't know. I think the people are caring about Mason Graham, and I think they're caring about Carson Schweissinger, their linebacker. I mean, yeah, he became the circus is in town for sure. When they finally took him, it was the circus. It'll be interesting to see if he even makes the roster at this point. The Lions. Let's look at some of the teams here. The Lions, their picks. They took a defensive tackle in the first. They took a guard in the second, which I think is good because they took a couple guards. They took a guard in the fifth. And the third, they took a wide receiver, an outside linebacker in the sixth. And the sixth and seventh round, I really don't care as much, but then it's a safety and a receiver. What do you guys think about the Lions draft?
I didn't really care. It didn't affect my team.
Well, it didn't affect your team, but how do you think they draft? It's an NFL show, sir.
I mean, it was meh.
Yeah, I said the Lions did not have a sexy draft. I agree with that. The Raiders in a minute. Not a sexy draft, but I think a very functional draft for them, taking a defensive tackle and then some guards. They went back to the trenches, which was pretty good.
It didn't make sense that they gave up 2 third-round picks next year to get that receiver, though. That was weird.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the trades this year. The Bears did some trades too. Mitch, what do you think about your team's draft? I think it was a pretty good functional draft. Joe, what do you think about the Lions draft?
I didn't pay enough attention to it to make any sort of comment about it. To be honest with you, I was like, Saturday I was at church and I didn't get to watch the Saturday portion of the draft. I only looked at the Raiders picks.
Yeah, I think like I said, the Lions were functional in this draft. The big news in the North for me, though, in a weird way, was the Green Bay friggin' Packers, who after over 2 decades finally in the first round take a wide receiver. Unfortunately, they got the second best receiver taken in the top 2 rounds. But they took Matthew Golden at 23 in the first round, so they finally break the streak. They took a tackle in the second, Anthony Belton. They took another wide receiver at 87 in the third. Then they took a bunch of 2 defensive ends, a defensive tackle, a corner, and a guard to finish out their night. Taking the wide receiver was I was shocked when they took the wide receiver.
Nick hated that pick. Nick absolutely hated that pick. I tried to explain to him like he's exactly what you needed because you have Watson, the big, tall, athletic guy. Then you have Dobbs, which is the possession guy. Then you have Reed, who's like the sneaky guy. It's like you needed a burner and you got one. Like to take the top off the defense and open all that underneath stuff up for your possession receivers. And he's like, no, that was stupid. Like it was a terrible pick. It was the worst pick. He was not happy about it. So at least one Green Bay fan was unhappy with that pick.
There's always going to be fans who are unhappy with the pick, that's for sure. I was just shocked it took a wide receiver for the first time in over 2 decades.
Yeah, it's like, come on, they bucked the trend for the first time in 2 decades, and you're going to bitch about it? Like, you should be jumping for joy that they at least took a shot. You know what I mean? It means, like, they want to win, They're like, hey, we know, we're not going to win a Super Bowl without a number one. Like, the guy has comps to Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I mean, if he, he's probably the second or third best receiver in the draft. Maybe a little different. I don't know, but I mean, they took a receiver. That's something for them. That's something. That's a step in the right direction, maybe for them. Let me see. We'll go on down here. We'll pass some other teams up. Get to the Las Vegas Raiders. As predicted, they took Ashton Jeanty. I'll say this with the Jeanty pick. I loved Pete Carroll pre-draft. Pre-draft, he was on X dropping hints on who they were going to draft. The first one, I didn't see the movie, but the new Michael B. Jordan movie, they had a picture of him and one of the other guys in the movie, like scared, hugging or whatever. I'm like, okay. And then the next one, what picture he dropped was Snoop Dogg in his blue outfit. So then people said, "Oh, Boise State," and they put it together. But they took Jeanty, as we all thought. So I know, Joe, as you're going to have some things to say about Jeanty. Here's who else they took. Before we get to Jeanty, though, they took a wide receiver in the second. They took Darren Porter, cornerback, in the third, one of their 3 thirds. They got a lot of picks. My God. Caleb Rogers, guard, in the third. Then in the third, they took a tackle, Charles Grant. In the fourth, they had 2. They took another receiver and another defensive tackle. Then they took in the 6th, they had 3. They took a defensive tackle, 2 quarterbacks. Okay. And then in the 7th round, they took the linebacker out of Minnesota, Cody Lindenberg. Joe, what do you think about your team's draft?
So those 2 quarterbacks are not actually going to play quarterback. One of them, Tommy Millott, he's gonna be a wide receiver. They actually announced him at the draft as a wide receiver because he runs a 4.39. Like the guy is fast, and he actually can play running back. He can do end arounds and jet sweeps. He can do kick and punt returning. So he's there as an athlete. The other guy, Cam Miller, he might get a chance to be a backup to the backup. He can actually throw better, so he might get a chance as a third string quarterback. But the receiver Jack Beck, he's actually, from what they were saying, he's the most physical receiver in the draft. Like he's a possession guy. He's a guy that's good at fighting for 50-50 balls and coming down with them. So I'm happy about that one. Darian Porter is a project, but I mean he's an athletic freak. Like his RAS score was off the hook. What is going on over there?
I don't know what's going on with Sarah over there.
Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. Because she's trying to get on the camera.
Well, it's not like we can see you on camera anyway.
Yeah. So, it's Darian Porter is a project, but if he pans out, he's a perfect Pete Carroll DB pick. That long, rangy, long-limbed, fast, athletic guy. So if they can teach him, he just started playing corner this year, I think. So we'll see. He's a project, but if he pans out, I mean, he's got He's got 4.3 speed. He's 6'2", 195 pounds. Like he's the prototypical Pete Carroll corner. One of the picks that I was really excited about was Dante Thornton, the wide receiver that we took in the 4th round from Tennessee. That dude is 6'5", 205, and runs a 4.3 40. He averaged 25 yards per catch last year at Tennessee. So he's the deep threat. He's the new take the top off the defense guy.
I think the Raiders did pretty well overall on the draft. They had enough picks to try to address a bunch of needs. As they start,
from trading down, they traded down a bunch.
Yeah, they did
to pick up more picks. And I like selecting 2 offensive linemen in the 3rd round. I thought that was a good move. They selected them on back-to-back picks. The first one that you mentioned, Caleb Rogers, he's going to play guard, and then the second one, he's going to play tackle.
Speaking of trading, the Vikings were a little bit active. If I can talk today. The Vikings, there we go. They were active. So in the 1st round, they took Donovan Jackson, a guard from Ohio State. Okay. Then it's funny though, because this is where their trades get their picks get interesting. Their 3rd round pick, which came from the Lions through the Jaguars and the Texans, they took another wide receiver. Then their next pick came from the Browns, which they took a defensive tackle. Their next pick came from the Rams, in which they took a linebacker. And their final pick came from the Texans through the Steelers, the Bears, and the Rams, and they took a tight end. So on this whole draft, they only had 1 pick that they actually owned that was theirs, and they took Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State. So they have an interesting little draft class. I mean, they took I don't know why they took the receiver, but okay. I don't know. So the Vikings had an interesting draft. The funny thing about their draft is just none of their picks were their own. They all came from other teams, which is kind of fun. So, Sarah, what do you think about your Vikings? We'll get to Orlando. Vikings. What do you think? What do you think about the Vikings there, Sarah? What do you think about your team's picks?
I'm fine with it. I mean, we needed a guard to finish rebuilding that O-line. And so I'm fine with it. All the other pieces are late round picks that are developmental pieces. So, I mean, what am I going to say? That, they were bad? I don't know. They're developmental pieces. We'll see.
And then the Bears. Morning, Broski. Look, Broski and I had a call. We called it right. There would be a tight end at 10. We didn't pick that was going to be close to Loveland, but it was at 10. So it was a little bit of a surprise for a lot of people when Loveland came off the board at 10 to Chicago. Then we get Luther Burden III in the 2nd round at pick 39. Then we do some trading, and we end up with Ozzie Trapilio, tackle from Boston College, in the 2nd. And then a 3rd second-round pick, we took Shamar Turner, defensive tackle from A&M. Then we take a linebacker, Hippolyte, in the 4th. In the 5th, we took a corner, Zoff Frazier. In the 6th, we took a guard, Luke Newman. And in the last pick of the draft for us, we took a running back out of Rutgers. God, there's a college you ever heard of in a while, Rutgers. No safety taken in Chicago, though, none at all.
Yeah, just a little surprised to see no safety was taken. Also, no defensive end. However, I just think that means that they're really holding out hope that Brisker can come back and earn his extension. And then, I did mention on the Hallis Hall show on that Wednesday, some of the crazy draft rumors I have been hearing from the Bears, one of which was the Bears stay at 10 and draft a tight end not named Tyler Warren. And it looks like that came true. And a lot of different, YouTube podcasters, etc., different sources who do their own rankings. I mean, a lot of people did have Loveland ranked ahead of Warren for tight ends. And I wanted Warren. I mean, obviously, like, not going to deny that. I think Loveland, especially since the two tackles were off the board, I think Loveland was a good pick. He's going to be like that Sam Laporta role, except for he's almost 6'6" and runs routes like a wide receiver. Following up with Burden in the second round. I mean, he led the NCAA in broken tackles for any position, and he also led the NCAA in yards after the catch. He was SEC first team 2 years in a row. The guy's a stud. He's going to start at slot receiver for the Bears. Colston Loveland will be the starting tight end for the Bears. This will be Cole Kmet's last year on the Bears, and he will be the Brock Wright role this year.
I would go, hold on, bros, not to stop you, but I won't go that far and say this is Kmet's last year. Because look, Ben likes to run two tight ends, and I think that the two of them together is a great fit together. And unless you get crunched with the cap, I think that Cole Kmet might actually be pretty safe.
My thing is they're not going to pay a backup tight end $11 million a year, and they can get out of his contract this year. They can easily draft a backup tight end to fill that Brock Wright role next year.
Broski, I think that's where you're wrong, though. I don't think he's a backup. They don't view him as a backup. I don't think they view him as a backup. People think, because we think of it has to be 1, 2, 3, not the way that Ben Johnson rolls. He rolls both tight ends out. So it's 1A and 1B. It's not a 1-2 thing. So
but Ben likes to run those trip sets and have that. Someone's got some real nasty background noise going on. I don't know what's going on. Sarah, could you mute your? Do you mind muting your?
I don't.
We'll play around with it.
Anyway, what I was getting at is like, Colston's going to line up out in trips formations. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to be the Laporta role, so he's going to be on the field more. I mean, you're not picking someone 10 overall to have him not be the starter, honestly. And like I said, I love Cole Kmet, one of my favorite players on the team, has been for the last few years. Just how the NFL works, man. It's a lot easier to draft a backup tight end than it is to, pay one $11 million a year. That's all.
And what's the number 10 overall pick salary? It's somewhere around $10 million a year, isn't it?
No. And like I said, I don't think they're going to just cut Cole unless they have to. If they're in the only way I see Cole get moved is if it's the money side of the house where we need money. But if they don't have to worry about cap issues, if they have no cap issues, there's no reason to get rid of Cole. They'll pay him. At that point, it's like, look, we got to spend the money anyways. And unless we need that money elsewhere, they'll pay that. That's so. It's like everyone jumping the gun saying, "Oh my God, Swift is gone out of Chicago. We're getting a running back. He's gone." Well, guess what? They took a running back in the 7th. Swift ain't going nowhere. They're still paying him.
Yeah, Swift's going to be on the team this year, but it's going to be his last year as well as Tremaine Edmonds and Cole Kmet.
And I think same with Kmet. I think it's too early to say it's anyone's last year to be on a team before the season's even started. Let's let the year play a little bit. But unless they need the money elsewhere, I don't see them moving on. I got to get a picture board, Nicholas. I'm having some issues over here technically. I don't think they're getting rid of either of those guys right now unless there's an obvious replacement. And that's the other thing too. Like if you're getting rid of Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift, who's replacing them?
Yeah, but you also can, just because you don't see that happening doesn't mean that other people don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's right? I mean, they're not going to pay two tight ends like over $10 million.
Yeah,
and like I said,
the money that is what because I don't know what the number 10 overall pick man is making, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $8 million a year, $6 million, $6, $7, $8 million a year, and then Kmet's making 11, so that's almost $20 million on your tight ends.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
The rookie deal, it always spikes up, so it'll be like $7 million, $8 million, $9 million, and then like $14 million or something like that as last year. But
yeah, like I said though, unless they, I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I'm saying it's going to happen. It will happen if they have a place they're putting the money. If they're not having somewhere else they need to put the money, then there's no real, okay, fine, we'll just spend the money. But if they're like, hey, we need the money to go get guy X, okay, then maybe they do that. But unless there's a reason, or if they don't use Cole at all this year, that'll be kind of a thing too. Cole is like, gets nothing, right? If they're not using Cole Kmet, then fine. But otherwise, it comes down to, hey, we want to sign Joseph to be our new whatever, running back, and we need the money. At that point, maybe they get rid of Swift and Kmet to free up the money to get the guy they want. I don't think they'll do it for running back.
So I'll tell you what. So like honestly, it's like like I said, Cole Kmet's he's a really, really good player, and I like him. And there'd be worse ways to spend the money next year for sure. So at
least next year, I definitely see you guys keeping him for this year because Ben Johnson's going to want to see how that 2 tight end set works for you guys.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere this. I'm saying after this year they have
I know
contract. Yeah.
But I'm saying like I could see a possibility where, let's say if they figure out the 2 tight end system and you have Kmet, have Loveland, and they're both doing really well, like why not spend the money? Like there'd
be worse ways to spend it, that's for sure. And Kmet's he's a heck of a player, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, that's for sure.
They could always restructure Kmet where he makes less money and stays longer. So I mean, there's options, and same with Sweat. So I don't want to. I'm just saying I don't want to put the cart before the horse here and say these guys are gone at the end of this season. We haven't even hit the season, and unless there's a money situation or oh my God, we can get this guy, and there's a clear upgrade there. I don't think they're like getting rid of Swift. I don't think they're getting rid of Kmet. I'm not going to say that today that they're going to get rid of him because there's a million different ways they could keep him.
Are they? Like they're going to sign me as their running back.
Yeah.
They must have seen they must have seen 6 foot, 280 pounds, and a 14.4 40.
There you go.
Sign him up. He's just like Scatterbo.
Mark Turner was one I want to talk to you about, though.
He's a Scatterbo. Damn.
Shamar Turner, he's an interior, but they talk a lot about how this guy can play the edge. So I know we said, well, we didn't draft an edge rusher, but did we? I mean, Shamar Turner might be one of those guys. He can play all 4 positions on the defensive line. We might see this kid in the edge a little bit. And then, of course, we got the edge we drafted in the 5th last year. Let's hope he progresses. But I think that was an interesting pick. I mean, really, I liked everything the Bears did, minus that we didn't get a safety. And I'm like, okay, so what are we doing with the safety? I love that we got – we took a tackle, we took a guard, even though we took the guard in the 6th. So that's
Dude, I was so happy to see the Bears address the trenches like relatively early, like 2nd round. Like, thank you for doing that. Like, they needed an offensive tackle. I mean, we've been speaking about this again. We're like, they have no backup offensive tackle, so it was great to see him get Trapillo, someone who could honestly, in my opinion, come in and play right away.
He might have to.
Tackle.
He might have
that
to.
Guy,
Turner is NFL ready. I mean, he's a twitchy, like explosive, violent player.
that's what I was going to ask about. Isn't he like a bit? He's like kind of a risky player, though, isn't he? Like a really high ceiling but a low floor guy.
Well, he's a guy who gets personal fouls because he gets all angry with his on the field. But he is a fiery guy. He's built the exact same way as Grady. What is it? The guy they signed? Grady Jarrett. So, yeah, man. Like honestly, I liked it because to me, Trapillo and Turner are like those are guys on the trenches who, if they need to play right away, they can. And it's gonna push. It's gonna push Gervon Dexter too. It's like, dude, you need to wake up, or else you might not be starting this year.
And the thing like about the Luther Burden, the 3rd pick, is that now we know where the 3rd wide receiver is coming from and what a guy. I mean, you get a guy whose whole life has been the slot, which was the negative thing, which is what the Bears loved though about it. Like, yes, we love this. This guy is a slot guy, so we need a slot guy. We got our slot guy, so they can
playmaker.
Yeah, I mean they really.
That was a good pick. That Luther Burden pick was a good pick, especially when you add him to your already good wide receiver core, and then you have Loveland too, who can catch passes. And Kmet, like you guys have a passing game. If Caleb takes a step forward this year, like I think he's going to be the first Bear to crack 4,000 yards.
I don't know if it's
with that
time.
receiving core. How could he not, man? Like, you know.
I don't know if it's Super Bowl time for us yet. I don't know if it's a little. It might be a little early, but the feeling's starting to get there, Steve. I mean, you look at the way they put this team together. Offensively, you've got weapons galore. You know, my only question on the offense, besides, you know, is O-line fixed, is with the running back, and it's not necessarily what you're thinking. It's not about Swift. I know Swift is good once I get him outside. If I can seal the edge and give this guy the edge, the guy is gone. Right? My question with the running back room is Rojo, and are they going to use him this year? And is he going to be the guy who just, you know, takes it up the gut of defenses and wears off defensive lines down? Because that's not Swift's job. That's not what Swift is good at. So is Rojo?
And I think like they really are hoping that, not hoping, I think they're expecting Benangai to be like the number 2 this year, because here's a guy who played a ton of ball, put up some really good numbers. If you go back and I was watching his highlights like a month ago, he has some of the coolest like highlights of any player in the draft. Like this guy trucks people. He never fumbled once in college, and he's like the best like pass protector for running backs like in the draft. So, or one of them.
I thought TreVeyon Henderson was the best passer.
One of them. Like he was up there. You know what I mean? So it's just like he could. My point is this: he could play right away. And I think the expectation is he is going to be like the David Montgomery, but not start. They'll start Swift, and then Roshan's kind of like the all around. Like, hey, he can catch a little, he can run between the tackles a little. You know, he can go outside a little, like type of thing. But yeah, I
just want to throw out there
expectations for a 7th round pick than people might realize.
I think the Patriots made an excellent pick when they picked TreVeyon Henderson. I think he makes their team instantly better, not just as a running back, but as a pass blocker for Drake May. And I think he instantly makes their team better.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if the Bears passed on him if he was there at 39.
So, welcome JB up to the show. Good morning, JB.
JB.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good. Well. Earlier, I think the Lions draft wasn't like super sexy, but it was super functional.
Right. And I have a little inside information that tells me Lee Smith will be the guy to bring back, because out of the UDFAs we signed his nephew, wide receiver Jackson Meeks out of Syracuse. I find that a very telling thing, and he actually got some guaranteed money. And yes, we do. I've invited him to be on my show many times, haven't I, Ken?
Actually, programming note. Actually, JB, since I got here, JB, you want to host Ken and Ken Wednesday morning?
I can do that.
Good. My wife has surgery, so I can't be here. So there we go. We just figured out. Look, that's how we work here at the Huddle Sports Network, on the fly. Sometimes JB will be hosting Wednesday show. I will be at the Andrews Institute awaiting my wife's brand new meet.
So I will actually be live. I will actually be live 2 hours in a row that day.
Yep.
And the 3rd hour at 9 p.m.
Yep.
But it doesn't go live into the network because that's my show that I've been doing. There's a show already scheduled there.
But it will be on the X.
Yeah, it will be on the X, it will be on Facebook, and it will be on the YouTube. It just won't be on the Amazon Fire Stick.
Did anyone, I mean, okay, for the division, I think I forgot who made the comment earlier. Was it Orlando maybe said he gave the whole division a B? Or no, that was you, JB. Yeah. Anyway, I kind of thank you, Steve. Yeah, might look at real quick.
I hope it works out well for your wife, Ken.
Thank you. So I call my wife the board queen. She has back fusion from a motorcycle accident a couple years ago. She just got a new hip in December. Now she's getting a new knee. So we're slowly but surely making my wife the bionic woman. Okay, and she is bionic.
Kind of like my mom.
Yeah.
Both hips,
so
both hips and a knee replaced.
The good thing for us here is where I retired at is A, I got TRICARE pays for it. B, everything here is done by the Andrews Institute. If you guys don't know who the Andrews Institute is, think of it this way: when your player gets an MCL tear, this is where they come.
Right.
You know, these are the doctors of the NFL.
Think about this. Nick Chubb has had this surgery twice,
and he's had it here. So Yeah, when we go into the office, it's
It's
nothing
the
but
same doctor, right?
signed jerseys, and it's ridiculous.
I was going to say,
It's
even
that
John
guy that
Dorn
did
gave
that.
every team in the division a B grade for their drafts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody did anything super flashy, and nobody did anything to hurt their team. You know what I'm saying? They were all solid, functional drafts.
Yeah, I mean, like the Bears, when I look at the Bears pick, I mean, okay, Loveland kind of shocked some people, but he kind of fits the system. And actually now we got 3 tight ends. We got 2 from Notre Dame, 1 from Michigan. Okay. I think the 3rd tight end that we signed, I think they'll all make the roster, but we fit holes. We took the wide receiver we need for the slot. We took a tackle that can start right away if needed, but adds depth across. He can play every position but center. We took a running back late that's got great ball security, might be the gut puncher. We took guys that weren't huge flashy picks where everyone went, oh my God, but they're like, okay, wait, these guys are going to be good. The Lions the same way, the Vikings the same way. I just thought the Vikings, it was funny because every pick they had came from someone else except for their first pick. But for me, the biggest shocker of the night was Green Bay taking a wide receiver in the 1st round because that broke a 20-year drought. I was like, oh my God, Goody's actually changing it up there.
Oh, Bill T has a question for us.
Oh, I got it.
So, Broski and JB, what do you guys think Deion Sanders told his son he shouldn't pull an Eli Manning? Can you two answer this in your thoughts? Well, I think it's awfully funny that Shador didn't get picked until he fired his father on the night of day 2.
Well, you know what's funny though is like because there was the tweet, the X comment from Dad that talked about the Browns have done some great things, but if I were a young quarterback, I would pull Eli and not go there. And it's funny that he goes there, and that quarterback room in Cleveland now is
that's a tough one for me to answer because I still think that a lot of Shador falling is more on breaking down Shador's actual play and how he translates or doesn't translate to the NFL more than even Deion. I think it's, yes, it is true he fired his dad and then he got drafted, but by then it was the 5th round anyway or whatever. But what I'll say is like that just goes to show you too, like we have all our every pundit, every YouTube podcaster, person in the media, whatever, does their mock draft projections, and they have Shador so high. Like, dude, he sits on the ball way too long. He doesn't really have a strong arm. He really didn't play against any good defenses. Like and then you add all the sideshow stuff. He's playing mad video games while he's doing like combine interviews or interviews with teams or and all his interviews in person were just trash. And this guy thinks like this guy's attitude is freaking terrible. On top of he's not the most skilled quarterback in the draft. So I really think that's the main reason why he fell. And let me just finish up real quick on Cleveland and how they're just retarded. Cleveland, they draft a guy in the 3rd round, a 5'11", 200-pound lefty quarterback who's not going to be probably an NFL backup even in the 3rd round. Like, what the heck are you doing, Cleveland? That could have been like such a good player. And then you draft Shador, Tupac Sanders.
Are you talking about Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm talking about Dylan Gabriel.
I actually had Dylan Gabriel ranked as one of the better quarterbacks this draft overall when you look at his body of work.
Absolute scrub. And Tyler, I had my top 2 quarterbacks were Will Howard and Tyler Shuck. I thought the Steelers were going to draft Will Howard in the 3rd round. Been saying that. Well, they drafted him in the 5th round. So Bursky was close on that one. But Shuck got picked in the 2nd. Shuck and Will Howard have what it takes to be starting NFL quarterbacks.
So let me get in here really quick and a couple things here. And Orlando, I mentioned this. His NIL deal is going to be worth $6 million this year, or would have been valued at that. Now his contract's I think at $4 million as over the life of it where he got drafted. But here's the other thing. Even look at how Shador Sanders reacted when he got drafted with the little dance, the jump in the pool, the foolishness he brings, and like. So if you're an NFL team and you're looking at this kid with the way he interviewed and everything else, and in the gameplay, and look at then there's the made up stats. This is where I think he was manufactured as a great player more than he is. Oh well, his numbers retired at Colorado. His dad's the coach. Of course, he retired his son's number. So like, oh, but look at this stat. He's the first player to ever have his college number retired and not get drafted in the top 2 rounds. Well, come on, that was his dad. there was so much manufactured greatness about this kid. But then when you dug into it and you looked at his play, well, it was the line's fault. Oh, well, he shouldn't have dropped that pass. Oh, it was always someone else's fault. Then you go into the interviews and what people said, and it's like, well, I'm very picky. I'm not going to play for just anyone. And it's like all this other crap he said. No wonder why the dude fell. You're at the point where you're at, look it, do we want this kid in the locker room with all this BS he brings? And people say, oh, but his accuracy, what about it? He's not great. I mean, so look at why Cleveland takes him in the 5th. It makes the circus even a bigger circus. Now, if he becomes good, they can say, look what great value we got by taking him in the 5th round. And he's a value pick when they get rid of Watson and they get rid of all the other noise and they have a good veteran quarterback who can maybe teach this kid something. This is your first coach that's not named your dad. Let me teach you the way. And if he takes to it and gets his rude awakening, then maybe they get something positive out of it. And so that's why in the 5th round, it's a throwaway pick.
Okay. And also, let's not forget that just before the draft, Bill Polian, who's been retired from being a GM of the Colts for over 10 years, he said in his last 10 years of interviewing rookies, whether they were QBs, wide receivers, running backs, linemen, whatever, Shedeur Sanders had the worst rookie interview he ever gave. And he goes, the kid's arrogant, he's cocky, he doesn't have the stats to back up what he says. He only plays good against bad teams, and he will not be a good NFL quarterback. He will, if you pick him in the first 2 days, he will be a cancer to your locker room because he will want to be the starter.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever even amount to a backup NFL quarterback, to be honest.
And that's why
neither will Dylan Gabriel. Let me add that. Those were
those interviews. Like, to me, it's very telling what he said in those interviews. Like, when they tried to show him his bad plays, he was like, well, if you don't like my game, don't draft me. That just shows you right there he's not coachable. Like, he's not somebody that's going to take criticism and learn from it. And, like, it'd be one thing if he was, like, limited skill-wise, but he was willing to take coaching. I think he would have got drafted a lot sooner if he was willing to take coaching. But the fact that he's bad and uncoachable, like, you know.
Well, if you listen to what Mike Tomlin said, even after they drafted Will Howard, it's an open competition. But right now, it's Mason Rudolph's job to lose. So he really has to outperform and really show something this preseason to take over that job.
I think Mason Rudolph is a great mentor role kind of quarterback. But I think he's just, declined so much, like, to the point where I think Will Howard is actually going to be the day one starter for the Steelers. And you know what? Like, this kid's played a lot of college football. This kid has all the skills you need. I just think he's going to be the starter day one.
And Isaac did bring up a good point, but it was also said if Cleveland or Detroit drafted him for Deion Sanders, he would have requested a trade or not signed the contract.
Now, here's something else to consider, though, when it comes to the Steelers, right? Rodgers is still out there, and, the winner of free agency, he's looking to get traded from Atlanta. There's still some quarterback movement that could happen with a couple of these teams. What's sad about this draft, when the highlight of the draft is Seth Roll, the two highlights actually belong to Green Bay and Chicago. The first one, of course, is when, the male model comes up with this Donald Trump thing about the Bears stuff. Okay, that was funny. I'll admit that was funny. That was good play.
Ken, wait a minute. Are you referring to Gay Matthews?
Yeah, exactly. But that was a good troll job. Look, it made it fun. And it's in Green Bay, you expect it. And then Seth freaking Rollins comes up, and that's what we opened the show with today. And he did. That was the most fun in the draft. This draft, and now that all we're talking about is where a 5th round pick went, right? Shedeur Sanders. And I guess it is worthy of talking because he was supposed to be 1 or 2. But, that should tell you a lot about this draft. This is a functional draft, not a sexy draft. And I think a B is more than fair. I think in 3 years, some of these Bs will turn to As. I think Chicago, and I'm not saying because it's my team, but I think Chicago has a good chance of turning this B grade into an A. If he hit on the first and second round picks on all 4 of these picks, and they get too deep in the playoffs because of it, I think they become an A. I think Detroit really is very functional and can prolong their window a little bit. But if they fail, it's not going to be because of these draft picks, it's because of some other issues they got. Green Bay, I just think it's great they took a wide receiver. Now, is this going to be a wide receiver where they say, man, we should have been taking wide receivers in the first more often? Or is this going to be a Des White situation for them? Is he going to be that wide receiver they're going to want to forget? That's going to be interesting.
What I liked about the guy they picked, and I said it prior to the draft on my Wednesday Mockapalooza show that you were a part of, he was the most complete receiver and the best hands in the draft. You could say he was ranked where you're supposed to be, and he was. But I like him. He runs crisp routes. He makes contested catches with his hands, not his body. Remember the big catch he had versus Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's in position to get the interception right here. He reached around with one hand, grabbed it, and pulled it around his back. That was a sick circus catch. That's something that you see players develop in the NFL. You usually don't see that in college.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we got a bunch of Bs out there. I agree. Like everyone, we're all pretty much okay. It was an overall B. There is some potential for those grades 3 years from now to become A's, and that's what we'll see 3 years from now. And some can go down, and some can drop.
Now, the only thing that I was best about for the Lions draft, and it wasn't the compensation, it was who they picked in the 3rd round. I said going into the draft, there were 3 big wide receivers I wanted, and I named them in the order I wanted them. It was Jaden Higgins, who went before we picked Tate Rutledge. We didn't have a choice there. Isaac Tesla, who we did get, or that Daniel Thornton out of Tennessee. All of them are 6'4", 215 plus pounds. All of them had good contested catch rate. All of them had good catch rates, except for Daniel Thornton, because he was my last pick, because he had over a 10% drop rate in college.
Hey, Luke, I'll extend this to include Joe's Raiders. I don't think there were any, what the hell are they thinking picks?
Yeah.
Broski, you had something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the Lions draft really quick. So I know a lot of people didn't like the Tyreek Williams pick at 28. I love that pick. I thought the Lions made 3 really good picks for the trenches. I loved Ratledge, and Frazier was a really nice pick. I think there's a really good chance that Williams and Ratledge or Frazier start as rookies, because I think Ratledge and Frazier are an upgrade over Mahogany, and I think they're probably an upgrade over Glasgow as well. And Tyreek Williams is better than that Roy Lopez that they got from the Cardinals. So, I mean, there's a chance all 3 of those guys could start. So just getting those 3 players in itself makes it a good draft. Really.
Thanks, Luca. No, and what's funny about that, if you look at him, you know what he looks like? A really big version of the Dirty Dom.
Dude, I mean, those are great. Those are really good picks, man. Like, honestly, that's what you do. Like,
Tyreek Williams, I had to make sense of it to Lions fans because they were willing to jump off the cliff right away. And he actually is going to fit something because everybody forgets Aleem McNeil won't be back till sometime between week 6 and week 8. So now we actually have somebody that has the size. He actually has a pro comp that was the same pro comp as Aleem McNeil had coming out of college, which means he can step in and be a day 1 starter.
Well, Broski, Brent doesn't agree with you. He's laughing and saying,
"Yeah, let me get on Brent really quick." Hey, Brent, so you're saying like rookies never start, Brent? Are you saying Roy Lopez is that freaking good? With McNeil out, that Tyreek Williams, a freaking stud from Ohio State, can't start? Really? And by the way, Mahogany's not that good, and either is Glasgow anymore. Dude.
You better go back.
So what I'm going to say is this: yeah, there's a damn good chance both Ratledge and what's his face Frazier start this year.
I guarantee you, Mahogany's the starter because the 3 games he played, he did better than Glasgow.
Yeah, I agree. Like Glasgow to me is the one who's out, definitely.
Right.
Like I think
Glasgow's out. They've already said Mahogany will be a starter.
For sure. No, I agree with that 100%.
I think the other thing is this. So like this, like we're grading this draft overall a B for a reason. And let me throw that. I'm sorry, Orlando, I didn't get enough time. You know, it was a functional draft, right? Not a sexy one. And there were a lot of good functional players out in the trenches that went that in the first 3 rounds, there was a lot of good players that you could start day one versus other drafters in the trenches, which we're not necessarily used to. Oh, great. Outstanding. Great news,
Jason
Jason.
MC, I don't do this often. I've done it for 3 people that's been on this show. Skull to you, brother.
Yep, definitely, Jason.
Yeah, good stuff, Jason.
So no, I mean, they're very functional. And I think some of these draft grades over the next 3 years can go up and some can go down. Yeah, we've been spoiled by talent the last 2 years, is what Orlando is saying. And look, when the big controversy was as a guy, as a quarterback, who a lot of people don't even think was really that good and was more of a hype train. When that's the news, that should tell you this was a functional draft. I love what the Bears did overall. I think, remember, we still got some player movement that's going to happen now, probably this week, next week, especially with a couple quarterbacks, and there's some other skill players. And I will say this, Miami signed the best unrestricted, undrafted free agent rookie, and all of them at wide receiver from Northwestern. That was the best pickup. And I'm saying that because it's my buddy's son, all right, that I served in the Army with. My buddy's son got signed by the Dolphins. So much, AJ
Cool.
Henny, best of luck to you. He played for Michigan for 3 years, then went to Northwestern for 2. He got contacted by a few teams and went to the Miami Dolphins. So best of luck to him. Army strong. Good to see him make it. I've been following him since he was tiny little guy.
Hey,
So
yeah, that's cool news, Ken. Good
Yeah.
stuff. I was gonna say Joe dropped, and the show's almost over. But I was gonna wait for a window to kind of critique the Raiders draft because I think they had the worst draft of any team in the league. And
save that for tomorrow, Broski.
yeah, we'll get on that one tomorrow.
We'll leave that tomorrow.
Tomorrow can be our draft losers.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
Thank you so much.
And I got to go get ready to start my show.
Yep.
I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for having me, Ken. Notice I waited for you to put me in the show. I didn't put myself in. But I'm going to tell everybody the same thing I say at the end of my shows. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. It's the only way to make the world a better place.
There we go.
Good show, fellas.
So yeah, we have here about a minute while JB goes and prepares for his show. Broski, from the Bears standpoint, it's just me and you. I think it was a good draft for us, man. I really do.
Very solid. I really enjoyed it. And the first 4 picks, Poles does hit on first and second round picks, and I think he did again this draft. And I think he hit on that 7th round pick, that running back. Dude, he's a beast. I'm telling you get bored, go back and watch his highlights on YouTube. It's some of the coolest highlights for any player in the draft. And
you said if I get bored, my house is always crazy, man. I never get bored.
But yeah, I mean, good, really, really good draft. And I said that months ago. I was like, this is so deep running back. I would just draft running backs in the 7th round. You could find a starter or an immediate contributor.
And we may have.
Yeah.
And on that final last take from Broski, we'll say, see you all tomorrow morning. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me, Broski, JB, Sarah, and the crew. Thank you for the comments. We'll see you tomorrow. JB is next. Keep it here, everyone. Have a great day.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can